A study by Forbes said that 42% of managers are more stressed out than their team members, and 35% are more stressed than their senior leaders. Isn't that wild? That shows to me that so many new and emerging managers, probably if you're in your first 4 to 5 years, are still trying to navigate your workload and are getting really stressed out by the sheer amount of work that you've got on your plate. And it's having a detrimental impact on the impact that you're having and also on what your team is getting to experience from your leadership and your management, which is why I wanted to do this episode on taking control of your workload so that you can be more effective for your team, but also so you can have some sanity for yourself. Hey, I'm Tash Peterson, certified leadership coach. And on this podcast, I talk all about how you can become a leader that people actually want to follow by helping you level up your leadership skills. And in this episode, I am going to dive into how you can take control of your workload so that you can have more space to work on the things that matters. So why is it important that you actually take control of your workload? There are a few things. If your workload is too big, if it's taking up too much space, you don't actually have the space to focus on the things that actually matter, like coaching and leading your team, focusing on the visionary strategic work that you need to do, managing up and influencing and doing all of those things that's actually going to make you a really effective manager and leader. But actually what sits underneath that is if you don't manage your workload well, you have increased chance of stress, right? Because you constantly feel like you're running behind, even when you're busy, right? You're busy doing a lot of stuff and you never feel like you get ahead. There is also reduced focus. You struggle to identify where to direct your energy, making it hard to prioritize effectively. What are you actually working on and when? You are on the road to burnout. Without clear boundaries, without clearly knowing what you're working on and why, the mental and emotional load of managing too many things at the same time can really drain your energy and motivation. And if that happens over a long period of time, it compounds into burnout. And then lastly, you can also experience a lot of stalled progress because if you're spending too much time on unimportant work or work that actually doesn't move the needle or move you forward, then you are preventing yourself from working on meaningful work, on making progress on the key goals and on the key growth drivers that are actually going to make the difference. This is also something that came up in a recent Q&A that I did on Instagram where I asked, what is your biggest leadership challenge right now? And someone came back and said, managing my workload, especially the admin stuff. And I'm actually going to do a podcast episode on how to utilize different tools to be able to manage your workload a bit better. But I wanted to keep this first episode quite simple on how to actually just get a handle on your workload in the first place. And I've got a resource as well that's going to help you navigate this as well. It's called the Workload Audit, which you can download, and it works through all of this in PDF form. It also has templates that you can use in the Workload Audit as well, so that you can make a really good impact with shifting and changing your workload. So that's firstly the impact of what happens when you don't take control of your workload. Now I'm going to talk you through how to categorize your workload so that you can start to get a clearer handle on what's actually going on with your workload. And then we're going to talk about how to shift it and how to start lightening your workload so you can work on the right things. The first thing that I would recommend is categorizing your workload. So I've got 3 categories that I recommend every manager looks at their workload, looks through the lens of their workload so that you can have a look at where everything on your to-do list sits and how it sits into these categories. So I'm going to first explain what the categories are and then recommend you working through your to-do list, your workload, all of your emails, and seeing where all of your to-dos fit. So the first category is critical/important work. So these are your high value tasks, the ones that directly align with your role's goals and responsibilities. So this is the work that actually makes a key difference to the goals that you're trying to achieve and that supports your team. And so these tasks might be moving your team, project, or business forward. They're connected to a strategic priority or objective, so there's a clear line of sight. Require your unique expertise or leadership. So they require you specifically to complete and to do. Some examples of this might be preparing for a team strategy session or performance review. That's something that really only you can do. Coaching a team member through a key challenge, a really high key critical task that often you don't have time for. And another one might be developing a growth plan aligned with the long-term goals. And often what I see is managers that kind of fit into, oh, just do more emails, but really they need to be building growth plans, they need to be building visions, they need to be building objective plans, all of those things to actually help their team move forward. And a key question you can ask here, if the task or the work falls into this category, is does this task directly contribute to my leadership priorities or team's success? If the answer is yes, then that is a critical/important task. If the answer is no, then it probably doesn't fit into that category. The second category is what I call noisy tasks. So noisy tasks may feel urgent or productive, especially when you tick them off, but they don't actually create meaningful impact. They often show up as busy work or tasks that you complete simply because they've always been part of your routine, or they're just easy to get rid of out of your email pile because they might look productive to others. And because they might help someone else out, but they don't actually help you out in the work that you're doing. So some examples of noisy work could be constantly checking and responding to emails without time blocking. So you're at the mercy of your emails and what's coming in. Creating detailed reports that no one reads or asks for. Quote unquote board reports. Honestly, are board members really going to get through 1,500 pages every month? Probably not. Or sitting in meetings where your input isn't needed, or where decisions could be made asynchronously, as in they could be made via writing or email, or someone else in your team could actually be in that meeting. It doesn't have to be you. So it actually becomes a noisy task because something that you've always just done or feels productive, but doesn't actually solve anything. It doesn't actually move anything forward. So, a key question that you can ask if it fits into the noisy category is this task truly necessary, or is it just filling space on my calendar? When I say truly necessary, again, it's does this task actually significantly make an impact to the work that I'm doing? Or is this something that someone else could potentially do? That is your noisy tasks. And then third category is misplaced tasks. So these are the tasks that don't belong in your role and should either be delegated to someone else or removed completely. So often misplaced tasks creep into your workload because of unclear boundaries, over helping, so you want to people please, or gaps in your team's role clarity, where this should actually be a team member's piece of work, but it just hasn't been delegated. It just hasn't found its way there. So it's still on your workload. So some examples of this might be manually updating your spreadsheets that could be automated or done by an admin person, taking on tasks from your team because it just feels faster or easier to do, or managing projects that fall outside of your role's focus due to poor delegation because you don't know how to delegate it. So this happens a lot, especially if you are new to management. You'll probably fall into this category quite a lot, which is taking up the majority of your workload on things that shouldn't actually be in your space at all. So the key question here to identify if things fall into this category or not, is this task something I should be doing, or should someone else be doing it? Or should someone else handle it? More often than not, the answer is going to be no, I shouldn't be doing this, and yes, someone else should be doing it. So those are the three categories that I really want you to think about when you are auditing your workload, when you are trying to control your workload. Is this a critical or important task? Only I can do it, or it's my specific expertise or position that is required to do this work. Second one, noisy tasks. Is this a task that doesn't contribute any value to the work that we're doing and is something that I just did because I've always done it? And then three, is this a misplaced task? Is this something that I do because it's quote unquote easier or faster, but really someone else should be doing it? This should not be sitting in my workload whatsoever. So those are your three categories, and I want you to really think about that when you are looking at your workload and you're looking at how you are reviewing your workload and auditing your workload. So once you do that, now we are going to take control of your workload. So the first thing is what I just said, review your workload. So do a complete audit. And this should include everything that's currently written on any post-it notes, any to-do lists, in your emails, in your project management software, anywhere where work gets allocated or organized, that needs to be reviewed as part of this process. Don't leave anything out. The second thing that you need to do to take control of your workload is categorize your tasks into those 3 categories. You need to be really blunt here and make sure that you are hypercritical of your workload. If you are relatively new to management, you might be like, oh, it'll look really good if I do it, or it'd be really helpful to my manager if I do it. Yeah, but that's not going to help you in the long run, right? We want to make sure that we are focusing on the necessary and right things so that we can get the best out of us and out of the people around us, right? And when we're focusing on the right things, we're actually doing the best by our business and by our managers. The third thing is evaluate and prioritize. When you have categorized everything into your categories, look at each of those categories and evaluate what you need to tackle first and make sure that you prioritize it based on that. Remember, the word priority is only a singular. There can't be multiple priorities. There is the first thing that you do. Once that is done, then there is the second thing that you do, and so on. So you need to be really critical in how you evaluate and prioritize your workload. But this particularly falls into your critical and important section. Then you delegate your misplaced tasks. So look at all of the misplaced tasks in that category, and then look at, okay, out of those misplaced tasks, which team member is the best person to do that work? Now, what is really helpful in this process is knowing your team's strengths and knowing your team's development areas. So when we delegate, we want to make sure that we're delegating the right work to the right people, because that's going to enable them to do a better job at doing the work, but also give you the confidence and the trust to not micromanage that process. And when you think about delegating, what we really, really want to get right here is expectation setting. So you want to know what it is that you want done. What does done look like? So what are you expecting to see when they bring this work back to you? By when? What's the timeline? And do they need any support or help to get this done? Now, setting clear expectations is not micromanaging. It is outlining what you are looking for, when you are looking for it, and what you expect to see. It's not telling them how they have to do it. So they can still have the autonomy in how they complete the work, but you are explicitly outlining what you expect to see and what done looks like, because that is going to enable them to know if they're doing the best work, right? They know what's expected of them, and there isn't going to be any wasted time by them doing something that doesn't actually help anyone. It doesn't get them closer to where they want to go. And then when you're delegating, focus on coaching. So again, we're trying to step away from you doing things. Misplaced tasks are things that you should not be working on. So you want to make sure that you're not inadvertently bringing this back onto your plate. So we want to focus on coaching and using you questions. So what do you need to do to get this done? How can I support you to do this work? What is your action plan to get this work done? So really focusing on what are they doing to create this work. And this just keeps that ownership and accountability in the correct place, which is with them. And then you need to step back. If you don't want to be a micromanaging manager, then don't be one. Don't step back in and constantly overlook and overcheck and blah, 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 everything, because that's not going to help anyone. Delegate the work, set those clear expectations, share what done looks like, share the timeline of when you expect to have it back, and then let them do that work. And then once you've delegated the misplaced tasks, get rid of all of the noisy tasks, have a look at all of the things that you're wasting a lot of time on, get rid of them, or talk to other people in the business where maybe it better sits, or look into some tools that you can use to help you get rid of those noisy tasks. Maybe AI, that could be super helpful for you. And then number 5 is review your workload regularly. So do an audit on your workload at least every quarter, I would recommend, because a lot of stuff just creeps in and finds its way into our workloads, and it's not helpful. It doesn't help us to get anywhere. And if you are a new or emerging manager, this is particularly important because you want to set up the dynamic of how you want to work in the best way. And if you're an established manager, this is probably something that will be super effective for you if you haven't really thought about your workload in a long time. So let me know what you thought about this. And I really want you to focus on this because this is going to lighten your load, give you so much more space, and allow you to do a really great job as being a manager and in supporting and developing your team. And as I mentioned, I do have a resource called the Workload Audit. Go down into the show notes and grab a copy, and it'll walk through everything that I've talked about. And you can download a whole PDF that walks through it all and gives you exactly what you need. Plus, I want to let you know that the Leaders Lounge is open. It is a coaching community for new and emerging managers who want to become really confident and effective leaders without the overwhelm. So if you want real-time coaching support in a space where you feel seen, challenged to grow, and is accessible in the life of a busy leader, then this is your space. It costs less than going out for dinner or an avocado and toast brunch out. So make sure you check it out. And if you want to join us to level up your skills and experience, then please do. I'd love to have you in there. All right, that's the episode for this week. I will be back in your ears again next week. Hey, that's all from me today. Thank you so much for listening to Lead With Less. It means the world to me if you could take a moment to leave a rating and a review on Apple, or just rate with 5 stars on Spotify. It means a lot to the growth and expansion of the podcast. And if you know any other people leaders who could do with a dose of inspiration to level up their leadership skills, then please forward on this podcast to them. I would really appreciate it. And as always, if you have any feedback or have any thoughts, please message me on LinkedIn, Instagram, or email. I'd love to hear from you.